First and foremost, I want to give all honors and praises and glory belongs to my Lord and Savior, whose name is Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Wahavaka Kodash. The name of the Heavenly Father is Yahweh, and his son's name is Yahawashi, who I reverence and honors to the elder apostles, and those of you that are actually in the spirit, and to the hopeful elect across the globe, and to the few, the very few brothers and sisters that be listening and learning across the globe. This lesson is going to be called Why Yahawashi stressed not to seek the high seat. Because when you seek the high seat, there's a saying in the world, you can become famous, but you can't become unfamous. So once you seek that high seat, you start to lose judgment. So it's good when you're trying to get taken down, when you have 1,000 subscribers or whatever, that's good. Because Yahawashi, he wants his men hidden. Something that's precious is hidden. Okay? Men, I'm going to keep saying it, they become corrupted. Certain men, they became senile. And it's really not a good time to be calling yourself, what do you call it when you call yourself an elder or a chief priest? Well, you know what? It is good, but guess what? There's a reputation that comes with that. But because you have men that call themselves what? Chief priest, Ephraim or whatever his name is. And it's like, not all the chief priests were wicked, we know that. But the large majority of them were responsible for what? The death of Yahawashi. Even some of the elders were responsible for the death of Yahawashi. Even some of the Pharisees were responsible for the death of Yahawashi. So you've got to be careful what title you want in these times. That's why, again, it's better to take the low seat. But all I'm seeing, men, they just want to make a name for themselves. They see, Biden is their king. You're about this place. You're about this world. You're compromised with this world. Biden's your king. Okay. Let's go to Acts 3:4. And as they spake unto the people, the priests and the captains of the temple and the Sadducees came upon them. Upon who? Were the disciples. Should I say the apostles? Being grieved that they taught the people. So they were grieved. They were upset. And preached through Yahawashi the resurrection from the dead. So they were grieved. Why were they grieved? Because they already had a position in the Roman world. And because they never had that same spirit. So they were grieved. They were annoyed at these miracles that were being done. Why would you be annoyed at a miracle? Why would you be annoyed at a healing? Whew. And they laid their hands on them and put them in the hold until the next day. So they grabbed them up, arrested them, and put them on the hold till the next day, for it was now eventide the next day. How about many of them which heard the word believed, and the number of the men were 5,000. Was about 5,000. And it came to pass on the morrow, right there, rulers and the elders. So it says rulers, those that were sitting under the Romans, and the elders. So these were elders. So you can also have wicked elders. And the scribes. You also had wicked scribes. But yes, again, it's in balance, because we want to be balanced. We know not all the scribes are wicked. We know not all the chief priests are wicked. We know not all the Pharisees were wicked. But this is referring to the wicked chief priests, scribes, and elders. Okay? And it says, and Annas the high priest, and Caiaphas. Caiaphas, that's the one I really want to zone in, because this image you see right here, the individual is sitting in the middle is Caiaphas. Okay? Which was what? A high priest. Okay? And John and Alexander, and many were of the kindred of the high priest. So they all had roles of what? A high priest. Were gathered together at Jerusalem with what? A council, because what? They had their own council. You know how you see the UN councils in a circle? Well, you have Israelites that have that same thing going on. Just look at Men in the Truth. It's the same thing. Okay? How they're seated, everything. You can't make this up. So when I read these scriptures, I liken it unto it. What's happening today? And it's like, oh, that's how you can discern things as well. It was happening then, but you got to look at what's happening today and equate that with the scriptures. And who was, bear me just a minute, I want to go into Caiaphas. Who is Caiaphas? Well, okay, because a lot of men mention his name, but who is he? He was a high priest appointed in the office. He didn't put himself in the office, he was appointed in the office. By what? What's his name? Valerius Gratus, if I'm saying it right. Who was an Edomite. So they were put up in these positions by Edomites. So guess what? Same thing again is happening today. The same thing. The governor of Judea, Valerius Gratus. Okay, but guess who succeeded him? Guess who took his place? You want to know who took his place? It was, what's his name? Pilate took his place as governor. All right. So bear me just a minute. After being removal of what? Simon, son of what? Of Camith. So these men were set up by Edomites to try and what? Overthrow Yahawashi and the disciples and the apostles. But the disciples, the apostles, and Yahawashi was a threat to them and their kingdom and what they had set up. This is what you got to understand. Okay, a major threat. So when we teach this word in power, when we're teaching Yahawashi, this is a major threat. This is a major threat to the people of this society, to the people of this world. All right, to those that want to see this place continue. So it's the same thing today. You got men set up by Esau, okay, doing the bidding of their father, the devil. All right. So they laid hands on them and bear me just and Annas the high priest, Caiaphas, John, and Alexander, many as they were of the kindred of the high priest, were gathered together at Jerusalem. And when they had set them in the midst, they asked, by what power? When they set the disciples, that's why I got this image right here. Or by what name have ye done this? Then Peter, filled with the Holy Spirit, said unto them, ye rulers of the people and elders of Israel. So they, guess what? They were rulers and they were elders of Israel. Rulers and elders. Okay. Of Israel. If we this day be examined of a good deeds done to the impotent man, because remember the impotent man who was healed, the one that was sitting at the temple daily, when he was lame on his feet, by what means he is made whole. So they're being examined of what are good deeds that they done. The impotent man, which means lacking in strength, helpless. Okay. But it known unto you all, to all the people of Israel, that by the name of Yahawashi, Mashiach of Nazareth, whom ye crucified, whom the Most High raised from the dead, even by him does this man stand here before you whole. So again, there was nothing they could do against that miracle, because that miracle was what? Right in front of their face. So how could they deny it? They could not deny it. So they were envious at Peter and the apostles, because they were healing people. You're right there. Yeah, they were healing people. All right. Miracles were being done on a daily basis. So that's why they were envious at Peter, Paul, John, and Yahawashi. But they couldn't stop the miracles. This is the stone which set at naught of you builders, which has become the head of the corner. So who's that? That's Yahawashi, who they refused, and that's our people. They refused Yahawashi. They didn't want to acknowledge Yahawashi. They knew he had the power. They knew the spirit, but this is what pride can do to you. This is what pride can do to you. Have you denying the spirit? Have you denying the power? Because men are prideful. They don't want to admit. If I see, and I'll be the first to say, if I see a man's in the spirit, and I may not even get along with him, I have to say, look, he's in the spirit. The Spirit's dealing with him. But men are just too prideful. Hella prideful. This is the stone which was set at naught of you builders, which has become the head of the corner, which is Yahawashi. Okay? And the other builders are what? The other children of Israel. Okay, which they rejected what? The main cornerstone. Okay? So it was a common thing. Okay, that they could do nothing against the truth. This go to verse 14. And beholding the man which was healed standing with them, they could say nothing against it. Nothing at all. Okay? But when they had commanded them to go aside out of the council, they conferred among themselves, saying, what shall we do to these men? For that indeed a notable miracle had been done by them, is manifest on all them that dwell at Jerusalem, we cannot deny. So they want to know, what are we going to do to try and stop this word? What can we do to try and stop this individual from speaking? Well, guess what? You can't. Because the word's going to go out. No matter what you do, this word is going to continue to go out. There's nothing you can do to stop it. Okay? So you can go, you can do deals with Esau and amongst yourself in these government buildings, these private, just your little government buildings. It's not going to stop the word of the Lord. In your government corporate offices, you're not going to stop the word of Yahweh Yahawashi. You can do your little pyramid symbols, your little triangle symbols. That's not going to stop the power of Yahweh Shem Yahawashi. He put the Spirit on you to do that dumb stuff, to acknowledge who you are, who your allegiance is with. A lot of men, their allegiance ain't with Yahawashi, their allegiance is with the world. And we cannot deny it, so they could not deny the miracles that were being done. But that it spread no further among the people, so man, they wanna get carnal. Well, you better watch out. The police, if they tell you not to teach anymore, you're not. But hold on a minute. If you're a man if you're Yahawashi dealing with you, regardless of a man says you better stop teaching, or you're threatened, and the police say if we see you out here, you better stop teaching. You're not going to stop teaching. If you're a man of the Lord, you're going to continue teaching. Okay? Why? Because Yahawashi has put that Spirit on you to do that. But if you're not, you're going to stop teaching because you're scared. You're not ready about Yahawashi. And let us straightly threaten them that they speak henceforth to no man in this name. Okay? But guess what? That was not working. It was not working. Like, threatening the men of the Lord, you're just putting a mark upon yourself. Okay? So they didn't want them to speak in that name. But we're going to continue by the Spirit and power of Yahweh to extol His name. Okay? Excuse me. So now let's go to James 2 and 6. Baba Kasha. I'm a hella passionate about this truth. And for any man to try and get in my way, for my salvation, you're my enemy. If any man even thinks he's going to get on my way of salvation, you got another thing wrong. You're messing with the wrong individual. Okay? Because the scripture says, if Yahawashi is for you, who can be against you? Okay? It's different if you're coming up against someone that's just worldly, but you're coming up against a man that really believes in this truth. You better examine yourself. Okay? Let's go to James 2. I'm going to get straight to the point. Verse 6. But ye have despised the poor. Our people despise the poor, and you can acquaint the poor with the humble. Because more so, poor people, we're supposed to be more humble. Because they don't have much. So they appreciate the little things. So that's why they're more humble. A poor person is more humble than a rich. I'm not saying a rich person can't be humble. But more of the time, a poor person's more humble than someone that's rich. But ye have what? Despised the poor. Do not rich men oppress you? Caiaphas and all these high priests, they'd be considered what? Middle class? Considering the Jews, the Pharisees, they were considered middle class. Not too poor. Not to say you didn't get Pharisees that were poor. But most of them were middle class, up in a higher echelon of Esau's kingdom. And rich men oppress you. Why? Because they're rich. Rich represents status. Rich represents you have pulling power to ring this guy up, to ring that guy up. You see it in this world. You see it with them Amalekites. Why do you think the Rothschilds, they're not going to get arrested? Because they have that pulling power, not just more so to that, because Job 9:24, the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. But you see where I'm going with this. People that are prominent, that have high levels of status, they can get away with stuff. Because they have that status, they know people. So it's the same in this truth. And what I'm doing is, well, what Yahawashi is doing, what the scriptures are doing, where these scriptures are here to give you eyesight. So when you read these things, that, oh, now I can see the bigger picture of what's happening today. Okay? And draw you before the judgment seats. Just like this image right here with Caiaphas and them two individuals looking evil as hell. And even some men look like this in the truth. Even some men, they got this look. That evil look. Okay, so they draw you before the judgment seats. Why? Because first of all, they're working with the authorities. Okay? And they have the power to do that. Okay? Because they're compromised. Do not they blaspheme that worthy name which ye are called? If you fulfill the royal law according to the scripture, thou shalt love thy neighbour as thyself. You do well. That's one of the most important scriptures. If you're doing that, there's no there's no occasion of what's stumbling in you, because you're doing that. Okay? But if you have respect to persons, you commit sin. And you see a lot of that going on in the truth. Oh, I know this guy. Yeah, I've known him for years. Yeah, bro, Yahawashi is looking down. He doesn't care about that. You could know him, man. If this guy's wicked, if this guy ain't of the elect, he's gonna die a horrible death. You trying to back him up. You got men that will link up with unholy alliances just to try and cast you down. Silly. Don't you know Yahawashi sees that? Okay. And that's respect of persons. You commit sin. And having respect to a person, it means you're being partial. You're partial. How are you going to have a whole camp, but you're looking at men, you're speaking about the other camps, which we do, IUIC and all these other camps, but within your camp ain't right. Your camp may not be right. You got all types of things going on. So it starts within ourselves, and it starts within your camp. But that's what happens when you got what? The evil spirit of what? Cain upon you. Evil spirit of Sal. And are convinced of the law as of transgressors. Okay, so that's a transgression. Having a respect of persons is transgression. And the Pharisees were notorious for what? Respect of persons. Okay? If you're not of the elect, you can't hide yourself amongst other brothers. You can't do that. Well, you can do that, but only for so long. Yahawashi has an elect, and guess what? They were predestined to salvation. And no man can stop that. No man can stop that. No man can hinder that. But you have men that want to try and hinder other men's salvation, but it's not going to work. I can't hinder another man's salvation. So why would you try to do that? It's a weak, feeble attempt. Let's go to Matthew 23. And it says, Then spake Yahawashi to the multitude and to his disciples. So it wasn't just the disciples, you had a multitude that also believed. Okay? Because when people think of the elect, they just think of there's 144,000 and 1/3, men, women and children. You had many followers. Okay? Saying the scribes and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seats. Them high seats. Okay? And Moses, what was Moses known for? His authority. But that authority was given to him by Yahawashi. And he didn't even want to do it. So that shows the humility of Moses. He didn't even want to do it. Okay? But he was given that authority, and how were they acting back then? They were trying to overthrow Moses, so it's the same thing again today. Korah, Abiram, Dathan. It's the same thing today. But did these individuals have the spirit? No, they did not. They were swallowed up. So there's examples in the truth. All for whatsoever they bid you observe and do, but do not after they work, for they say and do not. Okay? They're all about talking, having you do all the heavy work. That's tyrannical. But they're not doing the work themselves. What type of leader is that? We're going to go straight, just jump straight to verse 5. But all their works they do to be seen of men. So they were all about the outer, fame, vainglory. They wanted their glory here. Well, guess what? You've got it. Well done. Okay? Well done. You got what you wanted. You happy now? Let me clap. Well done. Okay? You got what you wanted. Okay? You got what you asked for. You got what you wanted. You received your consolation. But all the work they do to be seen of men, mostly the people of the world, and even others in the truth that are not able to see it. They make broad their phylacteries, their garments, as well. It's like your phylacteries is the headband with the laws encased in it, and enlarge the borders of their garments. So it says to make broad, enlarge. Why? So you can be seen. That's why you would make broad. That's why you would enlarge, so you can be noticed. Okay. A lot of men in this truth, you like women, man. You love attention. Okay. And that's why when the hard times comes, what? You're going to be acting all funny. Because you were only in this for the fame and the glory. You wasn't in this for the sincerity. You wasn't in this for Yahawashi. You were in this to serve your own belly. You wanted to be the guy. You wanted to be the head hutcher. When you're not. And love the uppermost rooms at the feasts. Okay. Positions and chief seats in the synagogues. Okay. Sitting up on them high seats. They want to be reverenced. See, you got men, they're not really bringing you to Yahawashi. They're bringing you to themselves. It's about them. It's about what they want. Only a few men can really build you up. Really teach you about Yahawashi. Really build your faith up. Really bring you to Yahawashi. That's why one thing I say when I'm teaching, I'm not here to bring you to myself. I'm here to teach you of Yahawashi so you can be strong for yourself. For yourself. Because when you have casualties of war, other men drop out, fall out, at least you know you're strong because you were built up in Yahawashi. That's what we're here to do. But other men, they're like, if you're not with my clique, if you're not with my camp, you can't be a man of Lord. Well, who told you that? You had individuals complaining. Okay. Well, Salakia, not individuals. You had disciples, Salakia, complaining about these guys. They're teaching in it. They weren't with the disciples, but they're teaching in the name of Yahawashi. They were doing the works. And Yahawashi said to them, why did you don't bid them not? Because don't bid them not. They're doing the work. Okay. If they're speaking in my name, they cannot really speak lightly of me. They're doing the same work. So you're gonna have individuals. They're not a part of a camp. They don't have great millstone on their name. But you're still gonna have members of the elect, and you're gonna have members in great millstone that are what? Wicked. Okay. That are not gonna be saved. So you gotta see everything in a balance. This ain't about seeking the favor of the world, what the world thinks, the opinion of the world. Because the moment you do that, you can't really fully please Yahawashi, can you? You can't really rebuke. You can't really speak the truth because you care about what the world thinks. I can't say that. Maybe I'll lose subscribers. That's good. You know how many people subscribe to my channel then unsubscribe, then subscribe again. Why? Because you're being effective. You're saying what needs to be said, not what men want to hear. And greetings in the markets. So they want you to greet them. If you don't greet them, you even got men like that in the truth. Why aren't you acknowledging me? I'm gonna call me an elder. Why aren't you acknowledging me? Well, first we're supposed to acknowledge Yahawashi and those that are pushing Yahawashi. Just because a man may not watch your videos or whatever, doesn't matter. So they desire the greetings in the markets. They want to be seen. And to be called of men, Rabbi, Rabbi. But be not called Rabbi, for one is your master, even Mashiach, and all ye are brethren. And call no man your father upon earth. Abba. Okay. Another word for father. For one is your father, which is in heaven. Neither be called master, for one is your master, even Mashiach. But that's what men, they want you. They want that title. They want that title. Because they've lost the humility. They forgot what this truth is really about. And that's what happens when you actually forget. When you forget, but he that is greatest among you shall be your servant. This is what men forget. If you're greatest, especially if you've got a high name, a high rank, you're supposed to be a better servant. Among you shall be your servant, and whosoever shall exalt himself. So who's really exalting themselves right now? Those are on high seats. They're the ones exalting themselves. Oh yeah, we live. Bro, you don't always got to do a video live. Have you ever tried not going live to see what the response is? We live. Some men, they won't know how to act. If they can't go live, they don't know how to act. That's indicative of a man's spirit. Because you got so used to that spirit. No, it's nothing's wrong with going live. I'm not saying that because you're going to get demonic individuals that say, no, there's a problem. Nothing's wrong with going live. That's fine. But when you make that a thing and now you can't get on live, well, I've been live, I don't know, a couple of times. And that's it. But you don't, it's not a doctrine that you go live. You could do a video without going live. So men, they've been corrupted by what? Fame. The truth was never about that. Fame. Vainglory. It was never about that. This is what men trying to turn the truth. They bring the spirit of the world into the truth. They bring that Instagram spirit into the truth. They bring that TikTok spirit into the truth. They bring that world star hip hop spirit into the truth. They merge the truth with the world, which you can't do. And he that shall humble himself shall be exalted. So if you exalt yourself, you're going to be abased. So those that have exalted themselves, guess what? They're going to be abased. They're going to be brought down. But he that shall humble himself shall be exalted. So in due time, the ones that are being humbled now, if you've been going for it, but you ain't been humbled, then that humiliation is going to come further down the line. And you're not going to be able to handle it. Why? Because you've always been exalted. That's why there's a thin line. Yahawashi, you lift you up, and you have it where you're humble. So you know your position. So you're never really out of line. Because that's what that humiliation is for. But those that are up on high, they don't know what it's like to be humiliated. Because they're the ones doing the humiliating. You see how it works. The chief priests, Pharisees, what were they doing? Looking down upon others. Talking down upon others. So they were humiliating others. You see how it works. But that's a blessing. We're going to shut off soon. But woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites. So that's what they were. Okay? For ye shut up the kingdom of heaven against men. For ye neither go in yourselves, neither suffer ye them that are entering to go in. So it says they shut up the kingdom of heaven. Because they could not enter in themselves. So why would you shut up the kingdom of heaven? And it says because they could not enter in themselves. So they could not enter in. Why? Because they were wicked than us. That's why they could not enter in. So if you're trying to shut up the kingdom of heaven, it's because you have a condemned mindset. So they knew they were not going to make it, or they would not shut up the kingdom of heaven to men. They knew that. Woe unto you, scribes, Pharisees, hypocrites, for you devour widows' houses, and for make a pretense long prayer, wherefore you shall receive the greater damnation. So there's men in the truth that are trying to stop you from gaining, but that can't work. That's impossible. I'll tell you why it's impossible, because the elect are the elect. That's why it's impossible. Okay? The elect are the elect, and the wicked are the wicked. Okay? Woe unto you, scribes, Pharisees, hypocrites, for you can pass sea and land. Okay? And make one proselyte. Proselyte is a newcomer to the faith. And I've seen it. You have a newcomer. He doesn't really know his way around the ropes yet. The ring, so like the ring yet. And you, being more responsible, having to be more responsible, what do you say? You say, yeah, it doesn't really matter. You don't need to be on fire. You don't need to You could just be lukewarm. It doesn't matter. That right there. That's making one proselyte, and when you made him, you make him two-fold more child of hell than yourselves. Or this man may not know about a particular situation, and you involve him in your situation. That's bad. You make him two-fold of the child of hell than yourselves. And that's what you do. That's how serious this truth is. You got newcomers, but they're like, rotted, he ain't even been in long. And you turn this guy wicked like you because you're not showing him, you're not teaching him of Yahawashi. So if you're not really teaching men of Yahawashi, you're teaching them all this other stuff, you're not really building them up. You're making them a proselyte, a convert to the faith, but you're making them a wicked convert. And now he's two-fold more child of hell than yourselves. Because you done that to him. You done it to him. You put demons on him. You weren't teaching him the right way. Nah, it doesn't really matter when you do the work. You can just do it when you want. It starts with the little things first. Woe unto you blind guides. And the Pharisees, they were blind guides. In other words, they could not see. Which say, whosoever shall swear by the temple, it is nothing, and whosoever shall swear by the gold of a temple, he is a debtor. Ye fools and blind, for whether is greater, the gold of the temple that sanctified the gold? So what is greater? What is actually greater? Huh? Was it the gold or the temple? Because the temple needs the gold, and the gold needs the temple. You don't have the temple without the gold. Because what makes that temple? The body, the individual. Okay, and the individual is that gold. So what is greater? Okay. And you had the chief priests and the Pharisees. They were reverencing the temples. They had the temples in high reverence. Like if the temple was not there, they wouldn't know how to do things. But the temple is what? The body, the spiritual body. And how do you know that? Because when you go to Luke 21, it talks about how they marveled how the temple was arrayed. Okay, how it was arrayed. Bear me just a minute. We can get into that as well. Quickly go to Luke 21. I believe it's Luke 21, and when you go straight to 5. And some spake of the temple, how it was adorned with goodly stones and gifts. Okay. Because the temples, they were highly decorated. Okay. And it was a place of what? Worship. Okay. That's what it was. But guess what? It's the gold. You're not in a temple. Where does your faith lie? We are that temple. We are that spiritual temple. And you know how they had the temple in high reference, the high priest and the chief priest? Because what did Yahawashi say? Destroy this temple and I shall raise it up with what? 40 days? I shall raise it back up in 3 days, Salakia. And then guess what? They were so demonic, they were so carnal, they were so deceptive. They said, this man said he would destroy the temple within 3 days and raise it up. This took 40-something years to build. Paraphrasing. Okay? So they were devils, they were deceivers. They were trying to accuse Yahawashi of what? Terrorism. You understand what I'm saying? So you see the depths of the wickedness. We talk about Esau, we can talk about Esau all day long. But you see the wickedness of our own people. There's another level to it. Okay, so let's go back to Matthew 23. For you fools, you blind, for whether is greater, the gold of the temple that sanctified the gold, and whosoever shall swear by the altar, it is nothing, but whosoever shall swear by the gift that is upon it, he is guilty. You fools and blind, for whether is greater, the gift of the altar that sanctified the gift. Whosoever shall swear by the altar, sweareth it by it, by all things thereon. And whosoever swear by the temple, swear by it, and him that dwelleth in. Alright? So bear me just a minute. And he that shall swear by heaven, sweareth by the throne of the Most High, and he by him that sitteth thereon. Woe unto you, scribes, Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye pay tithe of mint and anise and coming, and they were also manipulating the scales, making extra money, as well extortion, all that rubbish, and have omitted the weightier matters, pushed aside the weightier matters of the law, judgment, mercy, and faith, which is the most important. So if you missed it out, then really you don't have true judgment, because they're the most important things. These all you have done, and to not leave the other undone. So this is what you were supposed to do. You weren't supposed to leave the others undone. You're supposed to deal with the most important matters: judgment, mercy, and faith, and not to leave the others undone. But that's what our people do. Okay? Ye blind guides, which strain at a gnat. Gnat is what? Liken unto a mosquito. Okay? The smallest of matters, and swallow a camel. Okay? Woe unto you, scribes, Pharisees, hypocrites, for you make clean the outside of the cup and of the platter. You know about this truth. We want to be what? Clean within. But they make what? The outside of the cup clean. And that's easier for them. It's easier for them. Okay? Because it's not taking, that means it doesn't really take any discipline. You could just do that and do a video. Okay? Without making any changes. And of the platter, but within they are full of extortion, bribery, and excess. You die blind Pharisee, cleanse first that which is within the cup, and the platter, and the plates, that the outside of them may be clean also. So it all starts within, the inward man. That's what it starts within, and you can see if the inward man's being changed. And we know that doesn't happen overnight. But you can see if the inward man's being changed or not. If someone's just doing it by pretense, okay, they're being fake. You can see that. Woe unto you, scribes, Pharisees, hypocrites, for ye are like whitest sepulchres, which indeed appear beautiful outwards, but are within full of dead man's bones. So they appear. So if something appears, guess what? That's an illusion. That's an illusion. It's not really that. So you can associate that with what? Witchcraft, sorcery. Okay, appear. That's a trick. Okay. So the wicked chief priests and Pharisees, they were what? You could basically say they were witches and warlocks, because they didn't have it. Okay, which appear beautiful outward, but within are full of dead man's bones and all uncleanness. Even so, you also outwardly appear righteous unto men, but within you are full of hypocrisy and iniquity. That would mean they're not living up to what they say. And we know we're all going to slip, but there's a difference. I've always said there's a difference between those that are striving and those that did just wicked. They have no intentions of serving Yahawashi. Their intentions is to what? To serve this world. There's a difference. Woe unto you, scribes, Pharisees, hypocrites, because ye build the tombs of the prophets and garnish the sepulchres, decorate the sepulchres of the righteous, and say, if it had not been in the days of our fathers, we not have been we would not have been partakers with them in the blood of the prophets. So that's like a confession that you were partakers of those that what? Slain the prophets, and they're all back here today. So why is it men can only say, yeah, the chief priests, IUIC, now them chief priests, some of the wicked chief priests, some of the wicked Pharisees, they're in great millstone. Then well, that's for you to have discernment, okay, for yourself. I'm not going to mention names. That's for you to have discernment, okay. So yes, some of the men that were responsible for the death of Yahawashi, the persecution of Yahawashi, some of them are in great millstone, might be standing right next to you. Well, not might be, yes, standing right next to you, okay, blending in. That's why I say the house of Saul and the house of David is what is mingled, but what? That separation's being made. Sometimes you may wonder, well, why don't I get along with this guy? Because he might have killed you in your past life. He might have been against you in your past life. He may have been dashing stones at you like Abishai was dashing stones at David in your past life. So there's a reason for everything. Because brothers not spiritual, they may say, oh, nah, you know what? It's just hate. No, there's a reason behind it. Everything is spiritual. Wherefore ye be witnesses unto yourselves that ye are the children of them which killed the prophets. And they're all back here today. Fill up then the measure of your fathers. So guess what? They have to play out the same role as their fathers. So they're doing that. And how does that come? What's the signs? false witnesses, false allegations. They're the signs. Slander. They are they're the major signs. And the high positions as well. But you can't just go by that, because you have men that have high positions but they're not wicked. Certain men. You see? But if a man's in a high position, he's a slanderer, he's a false accuser, he's about vainglory, then they're the signs right there. He doesn't really teach you of Yahawashi. They're the signs. He's doing a live camp, and his live camp is all about everything else, what Esau's doing, but he can't teach you about Yahawashi. Well, there's some of the signs of who these men are. Ye serpents, ye generation. So, Yahawashi says, yeah, you're a bunch of serpents. Okay? Forked tongues, ye generation of vipers. So there's a generation of our people that are vipers. Okay? Wicked. How can you escape the damnation of hell? So that's what was said unto them. How can you escape your damnation of judgment? In other words. Wherefore, behold, I send unto you prophets, wise men, and scribes, and some of them shall you kill and crucify, and some of them shall you scourge in your synagogues. It happened back then, so they're going to do the same thing today. Okay? You got men on camera talking shit. You know? Yeah, bro, you better watch what you say, you know, you get punched in your mouth for that. Well, that's, you saying that is further witness to who you are. Of course, you're careful what you say, but guess what? When we're speaking in the scriptures, we let the scriptures talk. Then we expound on the scriptures, so that's you being careful by what you say. It's like men slyly, they're trying to threaten you. You better watch what you say. Bro, I'm going to speak what Yahawashi wants me to speak. As the scripture says, Jeremiah, I will put these words in thy mouth. Men don't really want you to mention Yahawashi, because when you really mention Yahawashi, that's when you see where men really stand. So it says what they would do, and persecute you from city to city, that upon you come all the righteous blood shed upon the earth, from blood of righteous Abel unto the blood of Zechariah and Barakas, whom you slew between the temple and the altar. Verily I say unto you, all these things shall come upon this generation. So you can't really run from it. Okay? O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, that killest the prophets, thou stonest them which are sent unto thee. How often would I have gathered thy children, even as thou gathered chickens under her wings, and you would not? Jerusalem, Jerusalem. It don't say Esau, Esau. Jerusalem. So that sums it up all. That's why Yahawashi said, just take the low seat. Don't seek to be popular in this truth. You're going to be more hated. Okay? It happened to apostles. It happened to the true disciples. It happened to Yahawashi. Okay? Why? Because they were speaking the truth. Now it's a crime to speak the truth. Okay, so with this lesson, I hope this was edifying, and until the next time, Shalom to the hopeful elect across the globe. Shalom.